Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, here we go again. Got up this morning, had no idea what I was going to do for a vlog, and fate dropped something on my lap. I was out mowing my lawn today. Everything was going fine. I got about halfway done, and I was emptying out the grass basket into the trash can, and all of a sudden the mower stopped. Now, I haven't had any problems with the mower since I replaced the battery last year. It didn't seem to be operating weird in any way. There wasn't any problems. The mower was just running and it just stopped. It was like it ran out of gas. But I know it didn't run out of gas because I just put gas in the tank this morning, and it couldn't possibly be that because there's still gas in the tank. I tried starting it up again. The motor would turn. It sounded like I was getting a spark, but no, it wouldn't turn over. Thought about it for a little bit, and I still think it sounds like I'm out of gas. Now, you can be out of gas on a lawnmower and not actually be out of gas. So I started thinking about this. It's like, I wonder if I have a plugged fuel filter. And I say, well, that's a simple thing to try. It's not a very expensive thing to do. It's less than $10 to get a new fuel filter. I'm gonna run over to Home Depot and we're gonna try that, and we're gonna see if we can fix the mower. Now, I'm not usually much of a motor person. I tend to have someone do my own oil for me because I could do it, but it's not really something I'm into doing. But I think this is something simple enough that maybe I can, that it's at least worth trying to see if I can figure out what the problem is. So I'm going to run over to Home Depot, see if I can find a new fuel filter. Shouldn't be hard. There's all sorts of parts and stuff like that for the lawnmower I have. And since I bought the lawnmower itself at Home Depot, I ought to be able to get a new fuel filter. So I'm going to run over to Home Depot. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. Alright, I'm back from Home Depot. This is actually the fuel tank on the lawnmower. You can see there's definitely fuel in there. Like I said, I topped it off right before I started today, and it ran perfectly for a while, but then it just stopped and I couldn't get it to start up again. Now, this is a fuel filter right here, and I was able to find another one at Home Depot. This is a Briggs & Stratton motor in my lawnmower, and I was able to find a Briggs & Stratton fuel filter. Even looks like the same thing. So I'm going to try flopping this thing out, and let's see if we can get this baby running again. Alright, so I read the directions on it. Basically it said that you probably should do this every year or so, and I've had the mower for a little over 3 years, so that's probably what it is. The old one came off of it pretty easily. There was a little bit of fuel that came out, but we got the new one installed into place. Looks like it's in good shape. Got the clamps back in place, which kind of hold everything together. Hopefully this is a real simple thing, and shouldn't be a terrible thing to, this should solve the problem. So I'm going to try firing this bad boy up now. I know I've got a little bit of air in the line right now that we're going to have to pump out of here, but hopefully this should get going again. So let's give this a shot. Because if this isn't what the problem is, I got a little bit of a problem here, because I've mowed half my lawn, so half the lawn looks nice and half of it is unmowed and looks horrible. So I'm hoping this is going to fix it. Let's give it a shot. Like I said, I got to get a little air pumped out of there first, but that was better than it was doing a minute ago. Alright, I'm going to let this set for a little bit and see, maybe we just got to get a little bit of the fuel to soak through the filter a little bit. I don't know how long it takes to pump all the fuel through here, but we'll give this a little bit of a time to maybe just leak in there a little bit and work its way through the filter, and hopefully we can get this going again. Alright, sometimes with things like this, when you get stumped, you got to seek out a bigger brain. And the biggest brain I know in terms of dealing with motors and stuff like that is my good friend Jeff Kidd. So I ended up doing a little FaceTime with him on Facebook, and he suggested that I look at this piece. This is a fuel shutoff valve that attaches to the bottom of the carburetor. And what it's supposed to do is when you kill the power, this thing closes and prevents the fuel from getting into the carburetor, and that shuts off the motor. It's supposed to supposedly prevent backfires and stuff like that. So he said, turn the thing on and off, not turn it on, but to the accessory position, and see if you hear this thing clicking. Well, this thing was not clicking. And what's supposed to happen is normally when it's in the operate mode, this little pin here goes down, and then when the power is released, it goes up. Well, apparently the coil in this thing that makes this thing work has broken. It's opened up. So I'm gonna have to replace this little piece. Now, they don't make this thing easy to do. There's a little plug that goes into the side of it, but apparently the geniuses that designed this thing decided it made sense to glue that plug into the socket. Probably thought that they were preventing the plug from coming out at some point, but it might also have just been to force you to go to a mechanic and have it repaired rather than do it yourself. But whatever the case is, this appears to be what the problem is. I verified that the coil is open with a multimeter, so that means that this thing is not going to work properly. I also verified that the wire that connects to it has the necessary power that's on it when the power is on. So there's power here, but it's not actuating the solenoid here. So I got to replace this thing. I'm going to probably have to run over to the lawnmower place tomorrow, see if they got one in stock. But Jeff also found one online that I can order through Amazon. Unfortunately, it means I'm going to have to leave my lawn in a very sorry state because it's half mowed and half unmowed, but that's the way it goes sometimes with these things. So I'll catch up with you when I figure out what's going to happen, maybe tomorrow, maybe in a couple days, and we'll go from there. All right, it's the next day. I'm actually going to run over to a local business that might have the part that I need for the lawnmower. It's probably an outside chance. This is a really obscure thing, but we're going to try anyway and see if they have it. And if not, I'm going to have to order it from Amazon, and that's going to take a couple days. So I'm going to run over to that place. Let's see if they've got the part, and if I get lucky today, and if not, like I said, we'll get it online. I prefer to do business with local companies if I can, but if the local company doesn't have what I need, then you know what, I gotta do what I gotta do. Alright, so I just came back from the place that I thought maybe had the best chance of having this thing in stock. I went into the store knowing that this was a long shot, and I wasn't disappointed. It was a long shot. They didn't have it, so I'm gonna have to order this, and we're gonna have to delay this the completion of this video for a few days. So I'll catch up with you in a couple days when the part arrives. Alright, it's the next weekend, and I've actually gotten my new fuel shutoff valve. This is the old one. This is the new one that just arrived. It looks like the same thing. The little pin piece moves the same way as it did on this one, but hopefully the coil isn't destroyed on this one like this one is. This one I think just kind of burned out. Now, when I disconnected the plug from this one, I ended up destroying the plug, so I was actually glad that this one came with a new wire harness, but I'm going to have to attach the wire to the system in there. Now, fortunately, the ground plug just plugs into the case on the motor, so that isn't a difficult thing. But I'm going to have to solder this piece into place. But that's not going to be terribly hard either. We'll solder it into place. We'll put a little nice piece of shrink wrap on it, and that should take care of it. Now, the wire obviously has some extra connectors. I'm guessing it's because different brands of mower connect different. I'm guessing this part probably is used on a lot of different mowers, so they need to have it connect to whatever the different ones are. Well, I only need this piece of the wire here, so I'm just going to cut the rest of this off, and we'll strip the insulation off this, solder it together, and we should be good to go. Alright, I've succeeded in resoldering the two pieces together. Like I said, this piece in here just connects to the case right there, and the new piece of wire has a new clip on it, so I'm just going to actually remove this piece, clip right to the engine block there. But we got this piece soldered to the power line, and I got a new piece of shrink wrap I'm going to use to cover that up, and that'll just slide right over there. We'll close that up with a heat shrink gun, and plug in the ground, and we should be good to go. Test this thing out, see if it works. Alright, so I got the shrink wrap reattached. I've reattached the new piece of wire to the case of the motor, and we're ready to plug this thing in now. And what I'm going to do before I actually connect the thing up is we're going to get in there and make sure that the connection works. Make sure that when I plug it in and turn the power on to the mower, that the little piston thing retracts, because that was what we determined wasn't happening before when we looked at this thing. And so before I get it all buttoned up and put back together, I want to make sure it's going to work. Okay, I got the whole thing hooked up again, and basically what should happen now is if I turn the key switch to the on position, it should retract that little pin in there. And that's supposed to allow the fuel to work its way into the engine block through the carburetor, and that was apparently what was happening, because before with the old piece the coil had burned out, and the pin didn't retract, and so the second the pin failed, it shut off the fuel to the motor and the thing didn't work. So let's see if that works. Alright, so this is the off position, and in, and it works. So that's what it was supposed to do. That's what it wasn't doing. So I think we got this fixed. Let's put it back together and see if we can turn this bad boy over. Alright, we got it all put back together. What I'm going to do before we button up the wire, because this wire is a little bit longer now than it used to be, I want to tie that up, make sure that we're not going to get caught up with anything in there. But I want to turn it over first, make sure it works, and once we verified that it works, then we'll go from there and see if we can neaten this thing up a little bit. Alright, this is what they call the smoke check. Alright, that works. So good job, Jeff. That was a good diagnosis over the phone. We're back in business. Let's go finish mowing the lawn. Alright, so I've neatened everything up, kind of tied the loose wire down a little bit with some cable ties so we don't have any problems with this getting in the way of things. So this was a good move. I'm glad I did it this way. It would have probably taken me a couple $100 to have some professional do it. Instead, I found the part online thanks to the help of Jeff Kidd and him walking me through this, because he immediately, the second I realized that the fuel filter didn't work, I contacted him and asked what he thought, and he immediately latched onto this part and said, well, that's probably what it is. And we actually FaceTimed a little bit via Facebook, and we pulled this thing off, and it didn't work. It didn't appear to work. I checked it with a multimeter, and it was open, so there wasn't the coil was obviously burned out, but I was getting power on the plug. So that was an obvious suggestion or obvious solution. Thanks to Jeff for figuring that one out for me. And instead of having to pay a couple $100 to do it, I paid $19 for the new solenoid, and we're back in business. So I think that's all that I have for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.